What's going on, SSBL peeps? We're back. FISAC's back.
We're back.
We're
We
back.
made it.
Both of
I'm
us back.
alive.
It's been a few weeks since we've had an episode. It's been a few weeks since we've had an episode of both of us. Thanks for sticking with us here through the end of season 8. Regular season's done. It's done. It's like it just started.
It's not only is it done, it didn't even finish quietly. Like it was just unadulterated chaos. And like we have an entire segment just to talk about week 13 day 4 because of how much went on. There were like I think it ended up being about 9 hours total of stream uptime.
Yep.
It was ridiculous, utterly ridiculous. But that's just what we've come to expect from the SSBL season 8 onwards. Is just utter ridiculousness.
It's just like it's every season too. It's every season. It's that last week. No matter how, like, we could have all 6 teams. Okay, we could have all 6 teams. That's fine. But there's still chaos because it's like, who's first seed, who's second seed. We thought the Gauchos won the division like 4 weeks ago.
So I was out, right? I think at that point it was when I had started I went up to Virginia 3 weeks ago. And when that was posted, I was like, I mean, they haven't, but surely they will. Surely the Gauchos are not going to lose 3 straight. Surely they're not going to lose to the Vikings, the Wrongfielders, and the Walkers to end their season and open the door for a potential new division.
Right.
Like that's not gonna happen, right? Right?
I don't even know. I don't have words really to say about this because it was so ridiculous. So ridiculous. Because I think I even did the math when I saw that because I thought the same. When the tweet went out, I was like, did they? And I looked and I did the math. I did the math. The issue that was in the back of our head was the fact of it was okay. Dragons are 10-6. They just I think it was y'all just finished, and they were like, all right, Dragons are 10-6. They can't win the division. Wrongfielders would need a miracle to win the division, and then I was like, I did the math. I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. It's, and then like,
nope. It wasn't.
They weren't even in the championship game. We had an absolute incredible game for our her first ever, by the way, which inaugural champs Dragons.
I don't know how the Dragons have done anything under my tenure. All I've known is pain as a Dragons manager, so this is a new feeling for me.
So first ever heroic evolution champions, and the game is the first, like, one of the first semifinal matchups in SSBL history, which was one of the craziest series. Like, if like I wait, like I'm working on trying to get some of that old footage because that series was nuts, and that needs to be shown to everybody who is now part of the SSBL.
Know your history.
Because Dragons win game 1. I think it was pretty convincingly in that series. And then they are like smacking them. Actually, no, it was back and forth. But Dragons,
I actually have the scores of those.
Dragons were in control until like a 7-run 7th inning by the Wrongfielders in game 2. And then we go back to El Vijo, and the squeeze happens. Which this was the Wrongfielders doing. That's their thing. But the squeeze happened. The squeeze heard around the world. Like Kip Shaw, there's that. There's the Kip Shaw squeeze. But there's this squeeze where 2 strikes. 2 strikes. And you try for the squeeze. And you foul it off. And it, like, now you're down because you had a runner on third. And it was a mess. Zarby, when Zarby was, like a frequent viewer.
In my day, when Zarby was in town.
When he was a frequent viewer and the most verbal in the chat, he was going bonkers. But anyways, that's history. We'll get there. Maybe in the off season we'll have some a little watch party or something. That'd be sick. Anyways, division recaps. How did these divisions? Obviously, we knew that the Galaxy was a Galaxy ages ago. We knew what
Yeah.
that was like. We obviously were like, all right, Stinger's ball players for the the Novas. Phenoms were like, shit, there's a lot going on over there. Then the Heroic, where we week after week, and we'll start with the icons here, right? Week after week, overdrafts are like they're not good. They're just their own. They're not that good. The Retrievers, where are they? Oh, the Retrievers are here. It was back and forth, and it came down to literally exactly what we anticipated: a championship match for that division between the two teams. And it's the team that I didn't see winning that game.
Yeah, the thing about the overdrafts and retrievers, the retrievers had one, two, three, four, uh was it four, five wins over 500 opponents. Three of those were the overdrafts. The overdrafts had two wins against over 500 teams. So they were both just teams that regularly played down to their competition. The overdrafts tended to play decently well against over 500 teams, but again, they only beat two of them. And we thought that this was the overdrafts division. I mean, entering the season, we knew that the Moonshots weren't going to be good based off of their tanking. We didn't realize how bad they were going to be.
Right.
Liberty ended up being, I think all of the expansion teams ended up being, I think if we were to be honest with ourselves, about where we expected them to be. All were 4-12. Well, Liberty and Mythic were 4-12, Express 6-10, Sparrows 3-13. So we kind of knew the pecking order 3-4. We knew I think we honestly preseason would expected retrievers, overdrafts, Liberty Moonshots to have been the order. Now that the season has happened, it is crazy that it ended up retrievers, overdrafts, not overdrafts, retrievers. The overdrafts just could not figure out how to beat the retrievers in any regard. And they're going to need to figure that out when it comes to postseason. But the retrievers just like stuck around. And then we got some good wins. They got some good wins against the Dragons, against the wrong fielders. And then those three wins over the overdrafts, honestly, are kind of what made their season and gave them the ability to win that Icons division. But I think we're all just kind of overall disappointed with this division in terms of how much promise the overdraft showed at the beginning after having no expectations. And then for the retrievers, they just never really turned the page for us. And I'm fully anticipating the retrievers to potentially be like a season 6 bombers where like they don't meet up to expectations and then they just win the whole super series. Like that could very well happen. But they just need to learn not to play down to their opposition first for that to happen.
Is this the worst division in the SSBL?
Oh, it is by any metric. By any metric you measure, it is the worst division in the SSBL.
And it'll be that way for quite some time. With obviously with shots rebuilding and being the big. So it'll be that way for quite some time, and it's going to be interesting how these two teams, overdrafts and retrievers, progress going forward. Obviously, retrievers are the two squads. Overdrafts are the overdrafts almost won this division because the Moonshots almost won this division because the overdrafts are just the Moonshots. That's all that, like, there's like 3 or 4 players from last season the Moonshots team on the overdrafts. The Moonshots almost won.
I mean, we'll talk about week 13, day 4, but the overdraft should have won this division, to be honest.
Absolutely. Moving on to the other division, the second division now in the Heroic. Talk about the legends in this one. This one, obviously, Lumberjacks win it. They go out in style by losing to Knights. But this division, and we were talking about it just before, this division, I think, is going to be the most interesting out of all of them going forward in the Heroic. Why? Because of the aging of all the teams and and I say all, I'm adding also the Express, who we've talked about before, could have easily have been an 8-8 team. Like, that's an 8-8 would have gotten you close to, like, right there in almost a playoff picture. Does the aging now help going forward? Does the aging in terms of the Vikings and the Knights and the Jacks going the opposite way? What does this division look like going forward? That's the biggest question. I think Lumberjacks still control it, but it's gonna be a bit crazy.
Yeah, I think this division kind of finished the way we all expected it to at the beginning of the season. Lumberjacks winning it for the fourth time, mind you, in the 5 seasons that they've been in. The Lumberjacks have never missed postseason, and they have won their division 4 out of 5 times. Um, the Vikings finishing second. Vikings really gave me season 4, season 5 Dragons vibes, where they had ridiculous pitching, but they just did not have the rest of the bullpen, and they did not have the bats to support it in any capacity. And then we knew the Knights were going to be bad. You had some expectations for the Knights that I want to say were very off base from what you said to me and what you expected it to be. You at one, I just want everyone to know at one point, at multiple points, Josh told me at multiple times that the Knights were going to make it into postseason. So that is the state of the commissioner right now.
So hold on, hold your horses there. There were multiple chances for them to win those games that they were supposed to win, that I thought that they were going to win. They did not. It's SSBL. Anything can happen. Anything can happen.
They nearly finished below the Express.
That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. I am a Knights fan at heart. They were the first team whenever I created them in season 2 back in my day. In season 2, they won that. They were the dominant team. And they were the dominant team for, like, honestly, until this season, basically. Like, I mean, look at them last year. They were still pretty dang good. But so for me, that was me, like, down deep in my heart wanting to win for Dan. That's what it was. I wanted them to win for Dan. Which there is going to be the first ever Dan Winkler Award out this year.
That is true. Well, the second ever, because the first Dan Winkler Award was given to, turns out, Dan Winkler.
Dan Winkler. So we will be. Anyways, this division, we knew, it's the Lumberjacks division. It is their division. We should just rename it the Heroic Lumberjacks. Not Legends, Lumberjacks. Because I don't see them losing it anytime soon. But it's going to get a little bit interesting within the second, third, and fourth spot going forward. Because it could be literally any combination going forward with that.
I mean, not only have the Lumberjacks won it 4 out of the 5 seasons that it's existed, they've also been the number 1 seed for the past 2 seasons in addition to that as well. So it's just been, there's just no breathing room, which is, to be honest, the kind of top level domination that we were expecting in the Heroic Evolution. We thought this would be Gauchos, Dragons, Wrong Fielders, Walkers, in that order.
Yep.
And I think at one point, after, mind you, my mojo down about saying things are solid, like saying, stop saying things are already, like, this is the way it's going to be, nothing is for certain. We're all like, so the division that's the most made up is the Evolution, right? Like, that's the one that's, like, the hardest set in stone. And even the tweet put out saying that they won the division.
The tweet heard around the world.
The tweet, I think it was, I forget who posted it, but it's this season's away flute. For those of you who don't know, back in season 5, the Gauchos,
season
back
4.
when was it season 4 or was it season 5? Because they won the division in season 4.
Right, but it was when I did a stream. I don't know, I don't think I did any streams in season 5. But it was me who pressed the button on the flute. It was at Sakura. It was against the Retrievers. I believe it was at Sakura Hills. I remember this very vividly.
So SSBL listeners, back in my day, we used to have home run songs for the teams, and the Gauchos had the 20th Century Fox theme played horribly on the recorder. though it's been mistaken as a flute.
Yeah.
And so it was heralded as the best home run song. It was played in an away game, as Josh was saying, and that has been what many have point to the downfall of the Gauchos organization. They have never been the same since. Specifically, Trudy Fruity has never been the same
Right.
since that game. She might have even hit the homer.
Yeah.
If she
Yeah.
did, that would be
I
bonkers if
don't
she
think it.
was the one that hit
Imagine.
it.
I don't think it was who hit it. I want to say.
But
I
regardless,
want to say it was Levi Booth.
the clinch heard around the world, and so this season's
Yeah.
away flute is that tweet saying that the Gauchos won it, and we had two tiebreaker games to even determine it. We couldn't even do head to head, right? Because it was 2-2 amongst all three of the teams, Wrongfielders, Gauchos, Dragons, which by the way, the fact that Wrongfielders were even there after losing days is incredible
Yeah.
that they were able to even make it to that point. So then it had to go to run differential in the head to head. Wrongfielders lost out on that. So then it had to go to head for the Gauchos Dragon. It was even. Head to head run differential. It was even. It went to the divisional record in which the Dragons were 4-2 and the Gauchos were 3-3. So that's what determined the 1-2-3. Gauchos lose it to the Wrongfielders, don't score a single run. They haven't scored a run in 18 regulation innings. They've scored 2 runs in 27 regulation innings. And they're not even the 2 seed in that division. They're the 3 seed. Though the way it works out, they have home field advantage over the Wrongfielders. It's crazy how this division ended. It is absolutely. I do not know
This
how the
was.
Dragons ended up with the division.
This is what we kind of envisioned for the Phenoms in the Epic.
Yes.
This is what we
Yes.
envisioned for that. This, if you would have told me this is going to happen in the Evolution, I would have said you're you're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. Wrongfielders at that, like, they won their first 4, lost the next 3. At that point, we were counting them out. We were counting them out. They go on to lose to win. They lose against the Gauchos their first game against them. They win their next 4 games, including the play-in game, like the playoff game, 4 in a row, and then they lose to you in the championship, the division championship game. This team is so inconsistent. I'm looking at their schedule right now: 4 wins, 3 losses, a win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. 4 wins, a loss. What's gonna happen next in the postseason? I have no idea, but it's this team showed up, and Sandra Lee, I will say this, in that game, pitched phenomenal in that game.
The Wrongfielders, it's only poetic that the Wrongfielders resurgence has been through that pitching staff, because they
No.
had the worst pitching staff from like season 4 up into honestly this season.
Hmm?
They had the worst pitching staff in the league, and it wasn't even close. They have a lot they need to do when it comes to position wise in the future, but it is the fact that young core, Sandra Lee, Rainy Days, who else am I forgetting? Leela Blurns,
Yep.
like that that young core, like, and we were memeing on Lasers when he started drafting those pitchers, especially like those like specialist pitchers that were kind of lower than the other ones. Like, are you sure you know what you're doing? I think he knew what he was doing.
No, he
I think he
100%
knew
knew
what
what
he
he was
was
doing.
doing.
Specialist is the way to go. And when you think about it, where's Daryl Cage at?
He's third in the rotation order.
All right, so there's Daryl Cage. He was the beginning of this, right? They got rid of Hank Murphy. He's with the Serpents. This, like, imagine this if Hank Murphy was in this mix too. Obviously, I think the Hank Murphy trade ended up getting a couple of these pitchers in the long run.
Yeah.
But just imagine, like, this guy has been farming these pitchers for so long. The crop is just now starting to grow. And
I'm honestly getting vibes of season 7 Gauchos from the Wrongfielders in terms of
Yes.
they're on the cusp of something really special.
And they have such a very, I would say, underrated offense. Honestly, like to be honest, I think they have some bats there that can put up some runs. This reminds me a lot back in my day of the season one wrong fielders. Season one wrong fielders had no business winning that entire thing. Ball players should have won it fair and like that's it. The end. But back then you had a Libby Sickley, you had a Tracy Branch, you had Daquan Smith, you had Randor Theodoris. Like there were some crazy bats there that were good, not great. And that's the same thing with this. They get Pedro Cruz, Boomer Lasers. Like
Boomer Lasers has been ridiculous, which is a common theme in this league of uh managers having their own player. So obviously, like I have Will Freishack, right? And Freishack wasn't amazing this season, but he has been an all-star ballot nominee pretty much his entire career.
right.
And Boomer Lasers is starting to do the same for Lasers as well. Like just absolutely ridiculous at the plate, which is what you need, especially when this league is really made up of by the bottom of your order. Who do you have that can contribute? That's how the Vikings did their Super Series run, was through Miyuki, Reed, and all of those batting way above. Jet Me for the Retrievers, right? These players that hit above their pay grade and carry their teams to the opportunity to win a championship. So, but that's the evolution, and was the craziest finish by far of any of the divisions.
Yes, nothing comes close to that. There with these other divisions, it's just kind of almost just plain and simple. Obviously, we have start with the Epic Galaxy. The Unicorns clinched that a long time ago. Long
And
time ago.
honestly, it came down to what we said. Those games that they played against each other where the Unicorns swept, if the Wildcats had taken one game from there, they would have had a tiebreak game for
Yep.
that division because they finished one game behind. So the Unicorns took care of business early and they kind of just stayed ahead. The Wildcats were never, ever really able to recoup that momentum once the Unicorns stole it. But it has set up I mean, everywhere in the Epic, it's just death. Everywhere you look.
It is. It's exactly that. I mean, you look at the rest of the galaxy, right? Obviously, we Wildcats stand, Angels 3-13, Mythic.
Well, 4-12 for both the Angels and the Mythic.
Oh yeah. I thought you said 3-13. That's my bad.
3-13 for the Sparrows.
Sparrows, yes. Angels, Sparrows. Say to me, Wigan, Sticks.
Man,
Same
Commissioner
thing.
doesn't even know his own teams. Wow.
Anyways,
Vote of no confidence.
Angels and Mythic. Well, let me just ask you this: what does season 9 hold as of right now for those two?
Mythic, I think, can do something special. Angels have a long road ahead of them. A long road ahead of them.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I already can hear Shag say something about Biddles, already.
Which, oh my gosh, did you see that in the
Yes,
heroic?
yes, I did.
It'll live in infamy how Shag tried to curse the Epic for not starting Biddles, and not only was Biddles not Biddles was the only positional player that didn't get an appearance for the Epic. The Epic still won as well, so that's what you get for trying to curse the team.
I read all about that and saw it with my eyes after the fact, but yeah, Mythic they have something. I just think with this Epic conference being so stacked, it's hard for them to really anywhere to playoff for quite some time. Some of these teams are gonna have to fall off hard before the Mythic can do, in my opinion. Moving on to Epic Novus. This came down to ball players just need to win, and it's theirs. That they did. That they did. It wasn't, that game wasn't even close.
And props to the Stingers for doing what they did. And we said at the beginning, right, that the real death ball was the Novas between the ball players, Stingers, Cyclone, Skulls. Skulls bowed out pretty early there.
Yep.
Cyclones, people rag on the Cyclones all the time, and people are saying, "Oh, like that you can't lose to the Cyclones." Cyclones at 6-10 are not the same 6-10 the Knights are. They are not the same 6-10 that the Express are. Cyclones are always a team that are just one or two parts away from greatness, and they could have genuinely maybe have done something a little more here had Beam Machine actually produced, as well as have they gotten like one or two more parts.
You
But
go
it
you go 6-10 with a +2 run differential. That's the problem with the Cyclones is you can score runs. It's just you can't score that one run that you need.
which 77 runs has them like very low, like 77 runs puts them just above the Vikings output, puts them below the wrong fielders output, puts them above the high rollers outpoint. So like 77 is mediocre. Runs allowed 75. That is just a little bit better than the Stingers. It is worse than what the Wildcats did. It's better than the
7.
wrong fielders. It's it's a little bit better than mediocre, which is how I would equate the Cyclones. A little bit better than mediocre, but a mediocre team.
Right. I mean, that's the in terms of runs for you scored you're 7th in the most like the most powerful conference in runs scored. The High Rollers scored 56 runs this season and gave up 56. They netted nothing.
That was that's the motto of the High Roller season. We netted nothing.
the which it's actually wild to, now that I look at this. The High Rollers gave up 56 runs. So did the Bombers.
But the Bombers scored
137.
81 runs more.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. But yes, going back to the Novas division, Cyclones, I mean, again, a +2 run differential when you are 6-10 says a lot about how close these games really were. And they beat the Unicorns, for crying out loud. Like 2-1. Like, do I think like the issue with the Cyclones, I think going forward is next season. That's the biggest test because what will Doctor do this offseason? What will he do? Because I don't know what from a picks perspective, I don't know where they sit.
They have no picks, if I remember correctly.
Right, they're sitting with the ball players.
Which they'll get Okay, no. They have two. They have
Okay.
two picks.
Then
They
two
have
compensation.
their second and their third. They have two compensation. Season 10, they have all of their picks.
Wait, who do they have that they can retire though? That's the question. It has to be at least for next season. It's season 3 that gets their first year of eligibility for
What
retiring.
oldies do they have? We can look up their ratings. I don't know what oldies they have.
It depends on that. It's whatever that Storm team. That's where they'd be sitting.
They've got Arbor, Stud,
Okay.
Thomas Jr.
So they
Mulberry.
have
They have
some.
They have Iggy Lancaster, Snyder, K9 Turner. They've got plenty to retire.
Okay, yeah, they got plenty. I just couldn't remember because I knew that they traded for a lot of older veterans, but I couldn't remember who had been Woody Arbor band. Wow.
Smash Perkins.
Woody Arbor.
They've got Fat Hugh.
Wow, champion.
Man, that's
Fat
a name.
Hugh.
That is a name right there.
Fat
Hugh. Man, if you don't know Fat Hugh and you're watching this podcast, you need a lesson on the SSBL.
Fat Hugh, man. Champion right there. Wow. Okay. Well then, Cyclones do have their compensation picks. The other thing as well is it depends on how bad will aging for the season 4s actually happen this off season. That's the big question because Wiljet County, 99 power, 95 contact, 93 speed. Is he going to be a DH next season? He might. He probably could be. It all depends on how that aging goes. I don't know what the range is for us for this class, I guess you could say, in terms of overall points, but I think he still might be viable. At the least at a DH position. I think the field I think he'll be toasted. But yeah, I think the Cyclones, it's gonna be gonna be a big test next season. Depending on how their off season. I say a test. Skulls. We'll go ahead and move on. We'll go ahead and move on. I'm fine with the Skulls. Skulls are super young. Like they're 6'7s, and we had one season 8 pitcher as our starter for 2 games. So I'm totally fine with the Skulls as to where they're at. And you know me, I make a lot of trades. How many trades will I make? I have no idea, but we'll see. I do have I think 2 picks next season, 1 or 2, something like that. So that's the end of the Novas. We'll move on to the Phenoms, where, of course, this is not the 3-way craziness. The High Rollers needed help. They needed help. They got the victory that they needed. They got the win.
They just were one short. And this is, we were saying ball players, singers, bombers, serpents, high rollers. Which of these teams doesn't make it? And for the longest time, it looked like it was going to be potentially the serpents that would drop it. But it was just the high rollers who just couldn't score runs. They ended up scoring, looks like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Counting with 5 They scored the 7th least amount of runs in the SSBL.
Oh gosh. Yeah, they don't know how to score runs. We got it. Oh gosh. Anyway,
I am fully souped up on Dayquil right now, by the way.
That's fine. That's fine. That was me like last week. Anyways, High Rollers, they get their win 6-5 that they needed over the Stingers, where everyone's like, Stingers are gonna win that game. Like, it's Del Vecchio. It's Del Vecchio. They're gonna win.
Vecchio's got this.
And then it came down to, all right, Bombers, they just gotta beat the Wildcats. That's all they gotta do. And then they get shut out 3-0. And the High Rollers are sitting there thinking, shit, it's all up to the Sparrows now. Bombers couldn't help us. Now we got the Sparrows, which, granted, the Sparrows put up a fight. Like, it was only a 2-run game. It was close for the most part. I mean, what was it, 2-3 at one point, and then before they got that final run?
The way most Sparrows games kind of went this season.
Yeah, pretty much. But the High Rollers, man, I did obviously seeing how the minors currently playing out in postseason now. The Diamond Jacks, which if you don't, that's the High Rollers minor league team. I was looking into them because it's like, where the fuck did these Diamond Jacks come from? I think.
Where did they come from? Where did they go?
Like, where have these guys came from? I look and I'm like, okay, season 8. Like, okay, they have, even though the 4 season 8 pitchers, they have 4 season 8 position players, a season 7, and then a season 1, season 2. So ignore those guys, but that they have some people here, and they also have some picks next season. High Rollers aren't gonna go away for a while. They're gonna be sticking around. Unfortunately, they are in this division, but they're not going anywhere. I don't think they're gonna go anywhere. I think they will be around the same as they were this season. but High
This
Rollers
is
aren't
just the
going.
nature of a 6 team postseason for each conference. Is that there's going to be a good team that doesn't get in. For the Heroic, it was the Vikings. For the Epic, it was the High Rollers, and it just makes it all the more important to win the games that you have.
Right.
And for the High Rollers, they didn't really retool for a second championship bid. Um, and we lost both the Vikings and the High Rollers too. So we're gonna have a completely different Super Series this season compared to last season.
Yep.
I posted the season 7 postseason, and it looks and feels like a fever dream compared to this season's
No,
postseason.
absolutely. And the thing that's like, I think Donut Boy kind of went into the season saying, "We win, we win. If we don't, we don't." That's kind of like, I mean, he traded. Oh gosh, I freaking had him. Why did I just draw a blank? I traded him.
Black Dreams.
Walter Malone.
Oh,
Walter Malone. Which is a solid pitcher, and I don't think their pitching staff. It kind of was their kryptonite. You know, like it was a little bit. Obviously, scoring 56 runs is not good in 16 games. So you need the run
the
production.
7th worst.
Yeah,
Did you know?
yeah, I did. I heard you count. So, but does Walter Malone help them out? Maybe, but it's also the run production. Obviously, losing Wally Woolley the way that they did,
It hurt.
that hurt badly. So for this squad going forward, I mean, looking at their starting line, you know, they're gonna have to build around Beltron, Barry Stone. Like those are the future names of this High Roller squad. And then you look at Waldo Whitman. That's your new go-to guy going season 7. Waldo Whitman. They also had Waggy Tail up in majors as well, who's a season 8. So we'll see how they progress going forward. That's that Phenoms championship matchup was a snooze fest. I tuned in to that one, checked it out, and I think it was when the Bombers scored.
It's just the the Serpents have not won a single game against the Bombers since the season 6 postseason. They have dropped 6 straight games to the Bombers.
Yeah.
They just don't know how to play them anymore. They just don't know how to play them anymore.
Yep. And I don't know what it is. I don't know. It's the thing is the Serpents aren't a bad team whatsoever. They have solid pitching. They have a solid offense. But when it comes to the Bombers, they just can't. Is it Emerald Diamond? Is it because their field is just so perfect for the Bombers to just hit dingers after
Dinger
dingers?
after dinger.
Like,
Jinx.
is that what it is? I don't know. But this rivalry, which again we've talked about, is the most historic rivalry probably in all of SSPL. It's not going anywhere because these two teams aren't going anywhere either. Cobras are in the minor championship. Cherry Bombers were in the semifinals. This matchup is going to go down in history as the rivalry. The rivalry. Which we could go ahead now and get into the craziness that you casted. All of it or majority? You casted that.
Oh no! If I casted all of it, I would not be here.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I have casted 9 hours of SSBL this weekend, and I got another 4 tonight. But a pen just dropped from my head. So it all got started with the Walkers 1-0ing the Gauchos.
Yeah.
With a robbed home run being the difference. There was a 2-run shot that got robbed that ended up allowing the Walkers to beat the Gauchos, which even opened the door for the Heroic Evolution to have tiebreak games. So that guaranteed 2 tiebreak games for us. Then the Overdrafts decided to absolutely land into purgatory with a loss to the Vikings, which then set up another 2 tiebreak game for us because we had to decide then Overdrafts Retrievers, as well as decide after that who would get in, which at the time we thought, man, you're going to have to face Joy Holiday. Either you win the division or you're not in postseason. That was our thinking at the time.
Mm.
And the ball players being the Serpents then opened the door for the Bombers to potentially win that division. And when I cast these games, I said it in the chat. It was probably the most fun I've ever had on a solo cast ever.
Yep.
It was utterly ridiculous. The Romfielders blanking the Gauchos. The Bomber Serpents was kind of a runaway. My game against the Romfielders was utterly ridiculous. That 4-3 with Pedro Cruz missing the dive. And then the next game with the injured Trace McSorley, Johnny Bravo coming in and hitting the walk-off 2 RBI double to win it for the Retrievers. And then the Overdraft staying alive with a 3-0 win at the Vikings in Shaka against Joy Holiday.
Yeah.
Even the All-Star game went to extras. Like it was a ridiculous day.
It's so funny to look at the schedule and you look at the All-Star game. Oh, it's 6-1, and you're like, oh yeah, that was an extra. that game went to extras.
Yeah, that was 1-1.
That game went
heading
to extras.
into the top of the 10.
That game went to extras. Imagine SMB4 with the MLB rule of starting a runner at second.
They got to figure out a way for us to manipulate the boards before they put a runner on second.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. But no, this stream was insane. Again, I was mowing during the Dragons and Wrongfielders game, listening like it was classic radio, with my AirPods. I'm just, stuff. And that Dragons game was because the Wrongfielders just like started right where they left off.
They had the bases loaded in the first as well. They could have scored so many more runs.
Yeah, they got one. Well, was it one in the first, and they got a second in the second or third inning? Like they jumped out quickly to like a 2-0 lead, and I'm like, bye sack. Like the Wrongfielders are about to literally go from we had never spoken their word in Evolution Division champion in the same sentence ever all season long, and they're about to become it. And then obviously that Pedro Cruz,
you weren't playing for the division that game. That game wasn't just playing for the division. That game was playing I don't want to play the Gauchos and then the Lumberjacks to get to the Royal Conference Finals. That's what that game was.
Exactly. So man, that slide though, it just nicks off his glove.
And we talked about it too, where with the way the runners were set up, I don't think the runner at third would have had time to go back tag and then head home if Cruz had made that. The runner should have tagged regardless of it. But that honestly probably decided the game right there was that slip up. It completely swung the momentum.
Definitely did. And obviously, gosh, man, like the call you had in that game and the Retrievers game were nuts. Absolutely nuts. The Johnny Bravo call was insane. That was great. The Dragons call, you led that one up with storytelling until the final out. It was great. It was fabulous. It was you just telling. It's like I don't even know what the hell you actually said.
You nailed it. That's like me counting right there. I got time this classic on the pod.
It's just like you just start going on like a storytelling moment of. After all these years with my team with the Dragon, blah, 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 blah. And then they win the division championship. Insane. Because I did not expect that to happen. Like none of us did. I don't even think you didn't.
No, the Gauchos had it. The Gauchos won the division.
Right, we tweeted it.
We tweeted it. It was done. It was over.
It was over. And then all of a sudden and the fact is that they weren't even in the championship game, the Gauchos. That's what makes it even crazier. That's what makes this whole thing even crazier. They have now lost how many in a row?
They've lost 3 straight.
Is it 3? Is it 3 including the playoff now? Or is it 4?
They've lost 4 straight.
4 straight. Yikes. And they've only
2
scored
against
2
the
runs.
Wongs. They've scored 2 runs in 36 innings.
Jeez. And they play the Wrongfielders in their first round matchup. They do get the home field. Will that matter though? They beat the wrong fielders 5-0 at home in the regular season. Looking at their actual home record, I mean, they lost to the High Rollers. They lost to you.
We'll talk about the matchups, but I'm not too worried if I'm the Gauchos. I think they have a really, really strong roster. But it certainly doesn't feel good if you're Marge.
No, not at all. And it is time for our favorite segment of the show. It is time for Mojo Down with Fisek. Hey, that's me.
You know what got my mojo down? I'm not even on the screen. Where's my icon?
It's over here.
This has got my mojo down. Where's the mojo? There it is.
Oh, gosh. Hey, it's me.
You know what's got my mojo down? I mean, it was coming, but apparently it's a blatant disrespect of my segment. Get it off. Get it off. I don't want it. I'm done. Get it off of me.
I forgot that I used that scene as the solo for and I forgot to change it back. Hey, that's me.
Hey, that's me. Back in my day.
jeez. Which, thank you for that mojo down. That was great. We're gonna go ahead and talk about the postseason. It starts tonight. Yes, this episode is going up. Like after this, I am like going crazy.
You're gonna be a miracle worker to get this up in time.
It'll be good. My internet, like the longest part is the actual rendering, like adding the music and stuff at the beginning and end, and then rendering it out. That's the longest part. It's the uploading takes like 10 minutes. I'm fine with that. We're good. It's just as long as we can get this render down. And then we're good to go. But anyways, we'll go ahead and dive right into the postseason preview. If you're watching this and you have not done your bracket, I'll make sure it's in the description down below. Bracket. It will close at 6 p.m. As soon as we go live and the game starts, it's done. You can no longer predict. It's one of the favorite. Like everyone loves the predictions. I mean, we're looking right now at how many predictions here.
At least 2.
We have 10 predictions so far. 2 of them are in this on this podcast. No, it's time for some postseason preview. I know where my bracket goes. My sack. Let's start with the first game of tonight. Obviously, you're on the call. We're not gonna act like you're Kirk Herbstreit and you can't say.
Here are my keys to the game.
Right? We can't act like you're Kirk Herbstreit and not have you give your predictions. We're gonna give you. Well, but let's start with this first matchup. Serpent Stingers. This one is a tough one to kind of call, and I think you ran the numbers. Have the numbers of.
Well, I have them. If you go to the stream announcements, I have the lines put in. All of basically the way that this works is that there is no home edge, and so obviously this whole forecasting system is very rudimentary because it doesn't factor in pitching matchups, which might be like the most important part of any of this. But it has the Stingers winning this in 2, though it has a half game up for them, or a half run up in game 1, and it has 1.5 games in game 2. I think that this is the Stingers series to lose, especially with Delvecchio and Ryan now. So Gold is out of the rotation, at least for the series. Delvecchio and Ryan, those are real 2 hard matchups to go up against. So it's gonna be really tough for this Serpent squad. Although I have to say it now. Okay, I have to say this now.
Say it.
Every season since season 2, the Serpents and Bombers have always faced each other when they both make postseason. And every single season that they both make postseason, one of them ends up making it to the Super Series. The only way for the Bombers and Serpents to meet up this postseason is in the Epic Conference Finals, which inherently would mean one of them is going to a Super Series. So
And
we can
also
make all
winning
these
their third
predictions.
Epic Conference Championship.
We can make all the predictions that we want here. There's fate that we're dealing with, and I have a bad time trying to underrule fate.
And I mean, I have my predictions. I'm gonna save them for later. But this series is probably gonna be. I mean, it's kind of a coin. This is really like out of all of them a coin toss. I think it can go either way. It could go 2-0 for the Serpents. It could go 2-0 for the Stingers. I could also see it go in game 3. But this is a matchup that's very close, in my opinion. I mean, it's 0.5. What was it for game 1?
Yeah.
0.5. Like we're not even talking a full run here. Like, like it's the I'll go ahead and say my prediction here. I had the Serpents taking this matchup. We'll go ahead and talk predictions here. I have the Serpents taking this matchup.
I have the Serpents taking this matchup
I
as
have
well.
it.
Not because I think that they're better than the Stingers. I think the Stingers are better. But I'm not about to mess with fate.
No, neither am I. And I think you and I, as well as probably Whitney, have the same Epic Conference Finals. I don't know. I don't know his, but I do know his. I'm pretty sure I know his actual finals for the Super Series. Moving on to the next matchup. This matchup, you might have a different outcome for this one. It's Wrong Fielders Gauchos. We've seen them play now 3 times in the last like 3 weeks. Wrong Fielders lost the first one and got shut out. Then come back and beat the Gauchos. What was it, 3-1? I think.
That sounds close. And then they won 4-0 in the other. I'm gonna go ahead and save your breath, man. This is the Gauchos to win. We got Gauchos Lumberjacks vying for a spot in the Heroic Conference Finals. I think the Romfielders have had some really good games. I think that they've had some really great opportunities, but it's postseason time, and it's time for the Gauchos to show their true depth and strength.
I have the Wrong Fielders. I have them winning in B. And
You must think you're so special.
We'll get into reason why. It's because I want Wrong Fielders Dragons Part 2. I want Pedro Cruz versus the Dragons again, because that game was phenomenal. And I want it in the, well, actually, I don't actually have it in my bracket. I would like it though, as a fan of the league. I have Lumberjack Dragons, by the way, in the Hero Conference Finals. But I would like to see that at least have an opportunity. So I had the Wrong Fielder Gauchos. I just think the Gauchos are downward spiral. I don't know if they can get out. I think they're stuck. And the Stranger Things. Now that Stranger Things is out, was it the Upside Down? That's where the Gauchos currently are sitting. Lost. Wildcats Bombers. This is an interesting series because of that last matchup. We just saw it. Wildcats won 3-0 against the Bombers. What do you think? Obviously, outside of fate, because I know
Well,
your prediction.
it would be great. It would be great to be outside fate, but unfortunately, we have to live with fate. Is Bombers Serpents in the Epic Conference Finals? I don't know how they're gonna do it, but the Bombers will win here and they'll beat the Unicorns. And then, knowing the Bombers, they'll probably drop the Epic Conference Finals to the freaking Serpents.
Yeah, probably so. But I think this one will be close. I do think this one will be close. Or do you see this 2-0, or do you see this going 3?
I think our last matchup is the one that's going to be the closest.
Overdrafts, Retrievers.
Yeah.
Overdrafts have not beat the Retrievers all season long. Will they finally get at least one victory? Which that one victory would be their first ever postseason victory in the history.
I think they're going to get that victory, but they're not going to be heading to the divisional round. I have the Retrievers in this one.
I can't remember who I chose this one. Actually, I think I had Overdrafts. Because I felt like Buzz Yellow is going to come out swinging. He's actually going to do something, kind of like Von Crum.
It would be a twist of fate for the Overdrafts to make it to face the Dragons, and then you have on one side Brock Hansen traded to die on the Overdrafts, managing to last an additional season despite all the odds, and he's in the 4 position now, so he probably wouldn't end up facing the Dragons. But if he were to win it all on the overdrafts, how kooky would it be for the overdrafts to have never won a postseason game and then to win it all this season that they finally win their postseason, and then Wanda Cosmo on the Dragons, the former overdraft, former Gaucho, coming over to a team and putting an all-star performance for season 8, voted the best pitcher in the league, at least to start for the all-star game. Uh, it's just, it would be incredible for that matchup to happen, but I think the Retrievers will pull it out.
I think it's gonna be. I think it's gonna go 3. I do think this is gonna go 3. And I think Game 3 is gonna be an absolute, like, not even a bloodbath. It's like Retrievers are gonna just destroy them in Game 3. I just have a gut feeling. Game 3 is all dog, all dog. That's all bark and bite. That's it. That's the story there. Moving on though to I want to actually, since we do have the predictions real quick, I do want to actually know what's your heroic conference final. You know your epic conference final. What we got?
I've got Gauchos Dragons.
Gaucho.
And I've got Serpents and Bombers. I then have Gauchos and Bombers in the Super Series, and I have the Gauchos winning it all.
Wow.
I think they're that good. I think they're that
Hey,
good.
I respect it because that gets J Watt a championship. I'm fine with that. But for me, I have it Lumberjacks and Dragons in the Heroic Conference Finals. So we both have the Dragons make it to the Heroic Conference Finals. So that's cool.
Which that's a lot of faith in the Dragons right there.
As fate says, we have Serpents Bombers in the Epic Conference Finals. And I have the S4 rematch. Lumberjacks Ball Players will have our first
Lumberjacks Bombers, you mean?
Yeah, sorry. Did I say Ball Players?
Yeah.
Lumberjacks and Bombers.
Which means that we're gonna have a second title for the first time in the
second title. First time ever.
Who do you have winning it?
Bombers.
Bombers are gonna do.
I think the Bombers pitching staff is better. It's just much better than that of the Lumberjacks. I think the Lumberjacks have such a insane batting lineup, and they have a stellar offense. But I think that Bombers pitching staff will overcome the Lumberjacks, and Bombers will be the first ever. Now I say it's probably not going to happen.
You heard it here, folks. We say it so you don't have to worry about it being reality.
Gosh. Oh boy. Which we do have.
What are the odds? What are the odds of getting it perfect? 1, 2, 1, 4, 1, 8, 1, 16, 1, 32, 1, 64, 1, 128,
28, yeah.
1, 2,
256,
256.
Yeah. Math. Yeah.
Yeah, 1, 256. 1, 5, 12. 1, 1024. 1 out of 2048, which is a 0.0488% chance of nailing it correctly.
Go. Which I'm excited to see these other ones come, these other brackets, because I made the challenge, but I can't even see it. I don't want anyone else to look at anyone else's and say, oh, copy off their homework, but change up a little bit.
Will we see it once it starts?
Yeah, as soon as it starts, you can see them, and I'm gonna look. I'm gonna examine all of them. I'm gonna look at all of you. I'm gonna find the craziest one. Who has like
who has overdrafts Wildcats?
no, who has wrong fielders Ball Players? That's what I'm looking. Who's gonna have the season 1 rematch in a best of 7 instead of a best of 5, where the wrong fielders swept? Ball Players. Anyways, we have to give away a headset, and I don't have the winner in front of me. So
I updated the list up in spam because Elder won last time.
Right. recall that one. You recall? Dang, we're at two.
I do you want to do the same drum roll that you did last time, where you just
shook your head
shook my
around.
emoji?
Oh gosh. Yeah, let's see.
This has been the most professional episode of Jack.
Oh,
we've ever
absolutely.
done.
And I am all for it. This is the greatest we've had. Math.
I am so lightheaded.
We've had I feel
Why
the
am I
same.
doing? Why did I decide to do math 2 times
Twice
in this
it
podcast?
was twice. You could have just let it go. Could have just let it go. All right. Drum roll from Fisek. Drum roll, and the winner of this the final Turtle Beach headset of this season, or at least for the regular season. I'll talk about the future of the Turtle Beach headset later. Magic Robot, aka Mr. Chrome.
Oh.
Mr. Chrome, come on
Mr.
down.
Chrome.
Mr. Chrome, come on down. You have won a Turtle Beach headset here. Make sure you do reach out so I can do that. I'll reach out myself as well. I'm really bad at that.
Wow,
though.
that's so nice
really
of you.
bad at that though. Sometimes like Aggie hit me up and be like, "Are you supposed to like reach out to me?" Ah, shit. Sorry, sorry, my bad. Anyways, thanks as always for tuning in to Jacked here on YouTube. Make sure you do subscribe. Also, after this episode, probably within like an hour, we'll have, probably less than that, we'll have the first playoff.
5 seconds.
Yeah, probably like 5 seconds. As soon as this is over, go to twitch.tv/officialsspl and we'll be, well, Fisek will be live with the first day of the wildcard games. My name is Jwatt alongside Fisek. We'll see you next time.
Keep on rigging, everybody.